Right. That song was so amazing. And you've probably heard it in grocery stores every December, wedged between Jingle Bells and Last Christmas. Before today, my favorite version was Pentatonics, but I think I have a new favorite version. And hearing it sung like that, actually listening to the words, it lands differently, doesn't it? Here's what you might not know about that song. Among Christians who take the Bible seriously, Mary, Did You Know is one of the most controversial Christmas songs ever. More controversial than Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. I'm serious. There are podcasts about this, heated social media threads, entire sermons dedicated to why this song is theologically wrong, which is why it's one of my favorite. The argument goes like this. Of course, Mary knew the angel Gabriel told her everything. In Luke's gospel, Gabriel appears to Mary and announces that her son will be great, will be called the Son of the Most High, and will reign over Jacob's house forever. So the song, these critics say, makes no sense. It's asking a question with an obvious answer. And if you believe every word of that story, if you believe that Gabriel appeared to Mary and laid out her son's divine destiny, then yes, Mary had information. She had prophecy. She even had an angelic announcement. But here's what I want to argue. Mary didn't know, just as no parent does. Even if an angel told her everything, could she possibly comprehend who her son would become? The healing grace, the words that would echo across millennia, the love that would transform everything. Every birth is an act of faith in the unknowable. We spend 9 months preparing and planning and imagining. We read books, we set up nurseries and pick names with care. And then that moment comes, that first breath, the first cry, and we realize we know nothing at all. We're holding infinite possibility, mystery made flesh, a question mark with a heartbeat. Even with an angel's proclamation, Mary knew this too, because no mother, not even one visited by angels, truly knows who her child would become. The theologian may argue about what Mary was told, but the mother Mary knew what all mothers know, that holding your newborn is holding infinite mystery. My big theological claim today is Mary didn't know. How could she? And how could any of us? I was talking with a friend last month, a lawyer actually, one of these brilliant bookish types who lives in his head, the kind of person who spent his childhood reading in corners while other kids played outside. And he has a son, a teenager now, who at first glance seems nothing like him. Nothing like me, my friend said, smiling. From the time he could walk, he wanted to be outside, moving, running. When other toddlers were melting down on the playground, mine was melting down because we had to come inside. He told me about signing his son up for sports, watching from the sidelines. This man who prefers reading indoors has a boy who became an athlete, a runner, somebody who thinks with his body in a way that his father never has. I don't understand half of what he loves, my friend said. I can't throw a decent spiral, but watching him run, he paused. Watching him run is like watching somebody speak their native language. He's so completely himself. And then he added, we really are different, but we're also alike in ways that absorbed in whatever captures their attention. The way both of them push interest to the extreme. We like different things, he said, but we like them in the same way. And because he can see that, he can guide his son a little, recognizing where enthusiasm becomes tunnel vision, not to shut down, but to help shape it. And also to accept him more fully because those same fierce enthusiasms are what make his son's way of being in the world powerful, creative, and world shaping. And then he said something that stayed with me for a while. He said, I'm proud I didn't try to make him like me in obvious ways, and I'm grateful I can recognize myself in him beneath the surface. This isn't just about difference, it's about learning to see a connection without demanding the sameness, recognizing kingship without control, loving a child not by reproducing yourself, but by honoring how the shared fire burns in the same form. That moment when a parent realizes their child is both familiar and unknowable, connected and free, that's not giving up, that's grace. Because the first act of parenting is holding on, right? But the hardest act is learning to recognize yourself in your child without deciding how exactly that resemblance should unfold. This is exactly what Mary, did you know, asked us to contemplate. Not whether she had theological information about the Messiah, but whether any parent can truly know who their child will become. Think about the physicality of it for a moment. For 9 months, our bodies literally sustain theirs. Their heartbeat echoes ours. Then birth, that violent separation. And we hold them for the first time as separate beings, and already the work of releasing has begun. Every parent learns this dance. Hold tight and let go. Hold tight and let go. It starts the moment they're born and never stops. You teach them to walk knowing they'll walk away. You give them roots and then watch them grow wings. You hold them close and then release them to become. I met a couple on Maui recently who understood this in a way that moved me so deeply. When their kindergartner came to them in distress, they didn't immediately know what was wrong, but they listened. And slowly their child found words for something they'd been feeling for a long time. You see, the boy that everyone saw on the outside didn't match what she knew herself to be on the inside. These parents, they had no experience with the transgender children. At the ultrasound, they celebrated, it's a boy. And they built their whole future around that pronouncement. They chose a name, they painted a nursery, they imagined a future for a son. And now their child was telling them, I've always been your daughter. You just didn't know that yet. They could have clung to expectations. Instead, they did the hardest thing any parent can do. They let go of what they thought their child was, and embraced who she actually is. We didn't have all the answers, the mother told me. We still don't, but we knew we had a choice. Love our idea of our child or love our actual child. It wasn't really a choice at all. Today, I'm happy to report that girl is thriving, not because her parents had perfect knowledge, but because they had the courage to admit that they didn't know, to release their expectations and allow their daughter to become. Believe that this is the gift that Mary gave Jesus. Not perfect knowledge of his future, but the freedom to unfold according to his own sacred becoming. And here's what I find really compelling. Even within the biblical narrative itself, we actually see Mary not knowing. In Luke chapter 2, Luke tells a story about a 12-year-old Jesus traveling with his parents from Jerusalem for Passover. On the journey home, Mary and Joseph suddenly realized he wasn't with them. For 3 days they searched, frantic, terrified, And where did they find Jesus? In the temple, sitting with the teachers, amazing everyone with his understanding. Son, Mary said, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you. And Jesus answered, why were you searching for me? Didn't you know I had to be in my father's house? 12-year-old Jesus was a bit of a rascal. Even in the story where an angel announces everything in advance, even after the shepherds and the wise men, even after raising him for 12 years, Mary still didn't fully understand who her son was becoming. She expected him to be with the family on the road home. He was in the temple, already moving toward the path that would define him. Luke tells us his mother treasured all these things in her heart. She didn't understand. She didn't know, but she witnessed. She allowed him to become. Now, whether you take this as history or wisdom literature, the human truth is the same. Parents don't know who their children will become, even parents with every sign imaginable. Some of the most beautiful words in the song ask us, did you know that your baby boy walked where angels trod? When you kiss your little baby, you've kissed the face of God. Such weight, such expectation. But notice what the song doesn't ask. It doesn't ask Mary if she decided for him. Mary didn't choose her son's destiny. No parent does. We live in a world obsessed with knowing, obsessed with planning every step before the journey begins. Nursery schools with waiting lists that start during pregnancy, futures mapped out before even the first breaths are taken. We want so desperately to know, right? To control, to ensure. And in that desperate grasping, we miss the miracle unfolding right in front of us. I've watched this happen. The artistic child pushed towards science because that's where the jobs are. The musical prodigy steered towards business for security. Parents who say, I just want them to have what I didn't have, never asking if that's what the child needs. What if Mary had done that? No son of mine is going to be a wandering preacher. You're going to be a respectable carpenter, just like your father. History would be very different, right? There's a difference between guidance and control, between nurturing and imposing, between loving what is and demanding what isn't. When we insist our children become who we decided they should be, we aren't loving them. We're loving our idea of them. Those are not the same things. Mary watched her son face rejection in his hometown. She witnessed his controversial teachings. She must have worried as he challenged the authorities and gathered followers that the powerful is dangerous. Did she try to stop him? Did she say, maybe tone it down, Jesus? Or maybe tone it down, Jesus? I thought that joke was safe in this church. Well, if she did, that's not the story we tell. The story we tell is of a mother who stood by, not controlling, but witnessing, not directing, but supporting, not imposing her vision, but allowing his to unfold. This is the miracle. She held him close when he needed holding, and she released him when he needed releasing. And this is exactly what our Unitarian Universalist value call us toward. The inherent worth and dignity of every person, including children, acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth, especially when that growth looks nothing like we imagine. The greatest gift we can give our children isn't protection from all the hardship. It isn't a perfectly mapped life path. The greatest gift we can give our children is freedom. Freedom to become, freedom to discover, freedom to unfold according to their own inner light. Mary gave that gift, and that humble manger and every day after. I know many of you are preparing to go home for the holidays. Imagine it, the drive or the flight, the familiar streets of your hometown, your hand on the doorknob of the house where you grew up. You take a breath, you walk in, and something inside you may get smaller. Maybe it's the way your mother looks at your hair. Maybe it's the photograph on the mantle of you at graduation, frozen in a vision of yourself that no longer exists. Maybe it's the question at dinner, so, are you seeing anyone? And you have to decide again whether to tell the truth about your partner, whether this is the year. Maybe it's your uncle's politics. Maybe it's your sister's pity. Maybe it's the way everyone talks about your brother's promotion while carefully not mentioning your poetry, your volunteer work, your actual life. Maybe it's the bedroom they've kept exactly as it was since you were 17, as if they're waiting for that version of you to come back. You know this feeling, the way you edit yourself, the way you perform a version of you that will cause the least amount of friction, the way you sometimes leave exhausted, wondering why you came. I see you, and I need you to hear something. You are not a failed version of their expectations. You are not a disappointment. You're not a rough draft that they're still hoping to revise. You are whole. You are becoming. And your path, however winding and impossible for them to understand, is sacred. I've stood in that doorway too. I've edited myself at the dinner table. I've watched family members search my face for the person they expected and felt the ache when they couldn't find him. But here's what I've learned. Every time we show up as ourselves, fully, unapologetically, we create space for others to do the same. Every time we refuse to shrink, we give silent permission for other lights to shine. The greatest gift you can give your family this Christmas might be the same gift that Mary gave Jesus, the freedom to see you as you truly are. It might not work this Christmas or next. It might be years in the coming. It might not come at all. But listen, their ability to see you is not evidence that you are unseeable. Their confusion about your path is not proof that you are lost. You are not lost. You are becoming. And that becoming is holy, even when it happens in rooms where no one understands it. Every birth is an act of faith in the unknowable. We hold tight, we let go, we hold tight again. This rhythm, as ancient as humanity itself, is how love moves in the world. As we celebrate the season of birth and light, may we honor the mystery of becoming. May we nurture without constraining. May we love with open hands rather than closed fists. And may we find in our not knowing, not fear but wonder, not anxiety but hope. Mary didn't know, my friends. She couldn't know. And in that not knowing is wonder, the magic, the miracle of Christmas. And perhaps in that not knowing is Christmas itself. Merry Christmas. May we hold each other gently this season. May we release each other freely. And may we trust in that space between holding and letting go, the holy makes its home. May it be so.